The Volkswagen Tiguan has been one of their best-selling models in the US for a while, and for 2025, it gets a complete redesign with more power, more tech, and certainly more luxury on the inside, but it does lose the third row. Apparently, not too many people were choosing that rather practical option, but that's probably because you could not combine it with all-wheel drive in the past. If you want a three-row Volkswagen, of course, there is the Volkswagen Atlas, but let's take a look at what makes the Tiguan new and what's definitely different from last year. Definitely the first thing you're going to notice is the updated styling. We get all the latest Volkswagen styling cues, including the illuminated Volkswagen logo on the front and that dramatic LED light bar. We have slimmer LED headlights up front, and this is not the exact same Tiguan that we find in Europe. In the US, we're going to get a slightly larger one that's coordinated with the Chinese market, because in the Chinese market, they also prefer a slightly larger vehicle. Now, slightly larger is relative, of course, because this has lost approximately 2 inches in length versus the current Tiguan that's on sale in the United States. And most of that loss is back here in the rear, where we get a shorter overhang than we had before. That's mainly because, again, they deleted that optional third row that we had in the past. Out in the back, we have the full LED taillights here with some definitely interesting signatures. Would kind of look like stacked chevrons there in the taillight module. It's kind of a cool look right there. And of course, that big LED light bar that mimics what's going on up front with the illuminated Volkswagen logo in the rear. The design, I think, definitely works well. It's not exactly like the updated Taos that you can see right next to it or the Volkswagen Atlas, but it's definitely distinctly Volkswagen. A common complaint with the previous Tiguan is that the engine wasn't powerful enough for North America, so they've definitely addressed that with a new 2-liter 4-cylinder turbo now producing 201 horsepower. That's a pretty significant bump over the outgoing model, and the Tiguan has lost 200 pounds approximately versus the 2024 model year. So that should definitely make this swifter 0 to 60 and should also improve highway passing performance. The only transmission on offer is again an 8-speed automatic transmission, likely from Aisin, and they are promising improved fuel economy along with the improved power, although we don't know those exact EPA ratings just yet. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the interior. The interior has had really significant updates. Over the years, Volkswagen has vacillated from trying to be more of an economy people's car style company or delivering us discount Audi. And I would say this Tiguan now swings back towards the discount Audi vibes. This particular interior is of course one of the more expensive ones, but I love the color combinations, the piping that we find on the upholstery, the contrasting stitching, and then just the stitching pattern that we find in the seats as well. You're going to find massaging seats, ventilated seats, and of course heated seats in the Tiguan as well. But perhaps the most interesting and unexpected feature is actually the fact that you're going to get real wood trim in this cabin. There are not very many small crossovers or small SUVs in the US with real wood trim, even including the luxury segment these days, but this is going to have that particular touch. That's definitely surprising. We also get new and bigger screens inside. The large, approximately 10-inch instrument cluster LCD, that is standard in every trim. And then you're going to find 2 different infotainment systems here in the middle of the dashboard. This is the up-level 15-inch touchscreen, bigger than the one that we find in the Audi Q5. This is possible because not only is the Tiguan riding on a new architecture and platform physically, but it's using the latest Volkswagen infotainment platform electronically. It's of course going to support things like Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. As you'd expect, it offers Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, a lot of adjustability for things like the ambient lighting on the inside, and you'll notice the ambient lighting shining through this big panel over here on the passenger side. That's not a passenger screen, that's just an ambient lighting panel, and I think it gives the dashboard a really cohesive look because it helps it make the dashboard look more symmetrical all the way from the driver's side over there to the passenger side. Now, speaking about the driver's side, if we shine the light over here, you can see more of that real wood trim, and I love the way they've designed that with that running right there behind the steering wheel. They put the shifter over here on the column, freeing up some center console space, and you can see that in this model we have that flat bottom steering wheel with the aggressive sport grips that we've seen in Volkswagens for a while. Big air vents going on in the center console area, also really big cup holders. I love the practicality here. I don't know how I feel about this little knob here, however. It is a touch sensitive knob and its function is going to change based on a number of different profiles. So depending on how you touch or swipe this, it's going to be things like volume, the drive mode, etc. The vehicle is not on, unfortunately, so I can't show you all of that. Down here we have a large open storage area with some USB-C charge points, padded center armrest there with more storage under there, and then a removable little shelf where you can actually access more of that storage space. Unlike other Volkswagen products, this does not extend to completely cover that storage console, but as you can see, you can extend it forward and backward. On the other hand, it does ratchet up like this in order to give you a higher armrest if that's something that you're interested in. I've always loved that ergonomic touch in a number of Volkswagen products. You have to open it really far to actually get it back down there to close. Now let's talk about the seats, because the seat design is updated versus the previous generation. So as you can see, we have 3-position seat memory over there for the driver, 4-way adjustable lumbar support, and this model does have the massage feature. Let's take a look at the back seats now. We hop into the back. You'll notice a few changes versus the previous Tiguan. The back seats no longer have that sliding mechanism that we found before. Also, they don't recline the way they did before because we don't have that third row behind. Obviously, as you'd expect in a mainstream vehicle, the plastics in the back are not as premium as they were up front, so we don't find these soft touch materials on the upper section of the door. That's a hard plastic up there, but we still have color matching inserts made out of imitation leather. Those match the leather seating surfaces, and then we find harder plastics down there lower on the doors. You can see those door pockets right there, but we have plenty of legroom, and what I really appreciate about this interior is the shape of the footwells. As you can see there, there's a lot of footroom. So if you have bigger feet or you just want to store a lot of stuff in here, you don't have seat rails that take up a lot of room, even though those front seats move quite far rearward. This front seat's all the way back in its tracks. As you can see, I still have quite a lot of legroom left. There are also some storage pockets where you can store your smartphone, things like that. And there's plenty of headroom in the back, even though we have this big panoramic moonroof. I suspect you'd very easily be able to put larger rear-facing child seats back here, as long as you don't need the front seats all the way back in their tracks. Turning the camera forward for just one moment, here's how everything looks together. A lot of folks were wondering on our Facebook page how that big LCD would look in the dashboard. I think Volkswagen did a really good job integrating it into the dash, and you can now get a big 10-inch head-up display over there for the driver also. At this point in time, we don't have official cargo figures just yet for the new Tiguan, but you can expect that the cargo area may have shrunk ever so slightly. That's because the Tiguan is now about the size of the Hyundai Tucson, a little bit longer than the RAV4, but again, about 2 inches shorter than it was last year. Let's take a look under the floor. Under here, we have a temporary spare tire. It's a T165, and they do put the subwoofer in the center there. However, as you can see, we actually have quite a lot of height, so this is one of the vehicles where I suspect you could put a full-size spare tire and still have that load floor in its original OEM place. Or, of course, you could take that out and get even more storage space if you weren't interested in having a spare. Unfortunately, at this point in time, we don't have complete pricing information on the new Tiguan, but that should be coming soon, a little bit closer to when it goes on sale. Again, this is the top-end trim where they're a little bit more interested in luxury and performance than before, and that's really noticeable when you take a look at the tires. We have 255 40R20 tires on this model, so definitely big, meaty tires, and you can expect a slightly meatier price tag. I'm going to go ahead and guess this is going to start somewhere between $30,000 and $32,000 when it goes on sale a little bit later. But hit that subscribe button if you haven't already done so, and stay tuned because that video is coming out soon.